Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Robot Wars Retrospective. Today, this is a very special episode because it involves someone who I can imagine is very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. It was certainly near and dear to mine, not to exaggerate, but it is someone who was part of my childhood and part of many other people's childhood. It's the creator of Panic Attack, Mr. Kim Davies.
Hello.
Well, thank you for coming. How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah.
Nice. So, well, let's just get started. I'm very smooth with these with these questions. So, let's start from the beginning. Cast your mind back to 1998 or 97. How did you hear about Robot Wars? Because I imagine must have been a weird thing to sort of pop up on TV. Did you find out by watching the show, or did you find out elsewhere?
No, we watched the show. It was on TV, and we thought, that looks interesting, something different. So we watched it with my son, and just enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a great little.
So yeah, we watched it, and we thought, oh, why don't we do this? Or my son suggested, why don't you do one? And it's not something I'd ever done before. So
No.
I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, I could probably do that.
Did you have any experience in sort of welding or sort of electronics or something like that before Panic Attack? Or
No. My history is in industrial sewing machines. So I had a workshop. Robots was not something I'd ever done. But yeah, it was something I thought, I'll try it.
Wow. Well, that must be. How did you end up convincing Lee and Kevin to the idea of it? Did you just go up to them and say, "Hey, there's this thing on TV. Well, I want to try this out"? Or
No, I was sort of halfway through building the robot, and when you watch them on TV, they look quite small.
yeah,
But when I'd actually looked, mine started growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I thought, this is getting quite big. So my son told his tech teacher in work all about it, and he was interested. So I arranged to go down and meet him, and we had a chat, and he said, yeah, well, I'd love to join it.
must have been, wow. Because I imagine the having to describe the concept of Robot Wars to someone who'd never heard of it would have been like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
No. Kevin had watched the show as well, so he was well into Robot Wars. Lee happened to be someone who worked with me, or he worked at the same place. We were allowed 3 on the team, so he was just an extra to come along just to fill the space, really.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Well, it must have been a great day, a great time out.
Yeah.
So how did you get the idea for sort of the theming and the weapons of Panic Attack? Like, what were the influences?
Well, once you'd watched the show, you start going on the internet, and I looked at all the robots. A lot of them had sort of websites, and then I found out about battlebots. I'd never heard about battlebots, so I went on their website, and I went on a lot of their robots to see what they were doing. And the one that caught my eye was Biohazard. I liked it because it was nice and low, had skirts,
yeah,
had a decent weapon, and it seemed really good. So I thought, I'll design something similar to that.
What a robot Biohazard is, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
The with the theming of the spiders and the idea of panicking and stuff like that, where did that come from?
Yeah, that was mainly Kevin's idea. I think he came up with the name. We had lots of names, but we didn't like any of them. And so he put a competition together in school just to see what made people panic. And I think there was a young girl, she'd come up with a spider. So we thought, yeah, that's quite good.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from.
That kid must have been mortified to see it getting whacked by Shunt's axe in the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
But here's a question I was always curious about, like, because in the first series that you did, you decided to donate money to charity for, I think, each fight that you'd won or something like that. Who had that idea?
No. It wasn't. Everyone seems to have that idea. What it was is we decided just to raise money for it was a charity because my father hadn't long passed away, and we decided for the St. David's Foundation we just raised money. We'd raised all the money we were going to raise before we even got to the competition, and so it wasn't dependent on how far we went.
Yeah.
We just thought we'd use it as a
thing for
tool
TV.
just to raise money.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I the idea of like, oh, what if we fuck up in the first round? How we're not going to give any money to it?
Yeah, that did cross our minds. So, we'd raised all the money. Yeah,
cool, awesome. Well, speaking of, it did seem like, or at least on TV, because I don't, things often on TV aren't as it seems. It seemed like you guys were going to lose every round that you were going to be fighting in. Or was there a specific point where you felt like, oh, this is all luck? Or were you like quietly confident deep down? Or was it just like, how the hell are we here?
Well, when we went to the audition, Panic Attack was fully painted, fully ready to go. It was fully functional. But, we could have entered straight away. A lot, or nearly 90% of the robots that were at the audition were in boxes. They were drawings.
Yeah.
So ours was, when we got to the auditions, they say, yeah, you're in. Because we were just ready to go. So, and during the competition, all we had to do was change the batteries. And we didn't have to do that. It would have probably run for the whole competition on the set that was in it.
Wow.
But the production team said, look, you just can't sit around doing nothing. You got to look like you're doing something. So we take it apart and then put it back together. So that's just for TV, really.
Yeah.
But we looked at all the robots that were there, and there was one or two, but we had a very, very powerful robot. It would pull a car, So if we didn't get damaged, we thought, well, we got a good chance. Cassius was the one that could flip things over, so if we got turned upside down, that was the end of us. But yeah,
lucky you didn't.
No, we were quietly confident, but we weren't there for that. We were there just to enjoy ourselves.
Well, speaking of Cassius, the final of that series is probably the most memorable moment of the entire history of Panic Attack. Like, how did you feel? Like, what were your thoughts coming up to that fight? Was that like, okay, we've done all we can now, let's just have some fun? Or was it?
Well, I sat down with Rex before we went in, and we had a long discussion about what we were going to do. We didn't want it to be over straight away, and Rex's robot could have done it, I suppose, straight away. And Rex, he wanted to be entertaining, just like us. So he went after the house robots, but it was just sheer luck that he didn't fire his weapon when we went over the top of it. I think he was quietly confident that he would win, but I think we just took him by surprise.
Yeah.
There was no agreement. There was nothing in it. He knew that, we were doing it for charity, but charity had nothing to do with the final. I said, let's just be entertaining, see what happens.
Yeah. So there's these rumors flying around that like Rex threw the fight, and I don't agree with that personally.
No, Rex didn't throw the fight. Rex wanted to win. He would. Yeah. All he wanted to do was not win it in the first couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Which, when we went over the top, I don't know whether his reactions were slow, or whether he was expecting it, or whether he thought, "Oh, we'll get him next time."
Yeah.
But who knows?
It worked out. Yeah, it worked out in one way or another.
Unfortunately, you can't ask Rex now, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Well, it's a good thing that's cleared out, because I would have hated the idea that he'd thrown the fight, because that would have thank goodness. Thank fuck for that. Ironically, my most vivid memories of Panic Attack sort of came after series 2, because I think at that point the main weapon had become, when I think of Panic Attack, I think of the massive forks that would pick up robots and chuck them in the pit, sort of the very, very calculated fights. Are there any particular fights in that sort of era that stick out to you?
Not really. There's a couple like Smidsy, Exterminator,
Yeah.
Dietor. There's actually loads. There's one. It was an American one. I can't remember its name now. We got really friendly with them, and they were quite pleased that we didn't do anything to them. We just picked them up and carried them around the arena a few times.
Yeah.
But that was our speciality. It was a sort of design. Well, when I designed it, I thought it doesn't really matter what weapon they have. If I can get their wheels off the floor, they can't use it.
Exactly.
And that's how I developed it. Yeah.
Well, I always remember so the one that sticks out for me is the fight against Spawn of Scudder. And I thought Spawn of Scudder was a great robot. You know, it had a decent weapon, and you just picked it up, chucked it onto the arena sidewall, and just left it there. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, we had a good fight with Exterminator too.
Yes, I remember that.
I was really good friends with Marlon, and he said, "No, we're going to beat you this time." So I thought, oh, okay. So we turned him upside down. He couldn't self-right, so it didn't. Whether it looked like in the series, but we actually put him back on his wheels just to carry on because I knew that there was nothing he could do to us. To be honest with you,
that in that series in particular, that's probably my favorite fight. I always tell people watch that fight because it's brilliant. Here's one that someone had suggested. I've got a few questions that other people had submitted, and I'll put their names in the video, so I'm not just sort of taking credit for them all. But do you remember being on the steering committee?
No, that was a question that you asked. I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I was part of the technical team.
Yes, you were.
And we were actually part of the team that advised on the computer game. But I don't remember this. We had discussions with people on the way Robot Wars ought to go. But I don't think it was an official steering team.
Okay, so it was more sort of like just sort of general discussions rather than like serious meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So recently, about a year and a half ago, a new segment from when you and Kevin Pritchard did the live events in sort of like 2001 in Wales. Do you have any particular memories of that? Because I know a lot of people have they would have grown up watching those live shows, you know, at the time.
Yeah, the live show in Cardiff, that was probably my favorite part of Robot Wars, if you like. It wasn't filmed for TV, so it was a lot of fun. We had a fight. I think Evil Weevil was in there. Was it Mega Morg or someone like that? And Shunt was in there. So the fight was only supposed to last 5 minutes. I think they all ended up in a pit, and then it was just us and Shunt was left in the arena. So we spent, I think it was like 15 or 20 minutes fighting Shunt, and we eventually got him in the pit. So the whole everyone cheered, and then they didn't. The doors opened again, and another house robot came in, Dead Metal, I think it was, and they lifted the pit up and got Shunt back out, and I ended up. We had to end up fighting two house robots.
Oh, no.
I think it was about 40 minutes before they ended up getting us in the pit. And yeah, it was just good fun.
You said about the batteries lasting very long. I can't believe,
Our batteries last well over an hour.
Really? Wow. That's crazy. Like, that's probably my my naivete with anything electronic coming in. But yeah, fucking hell. So you did participate in BattleBots with Panic Attack, but you also as far as we know, you participated with another robot called Scallywag. How was that? Like,
Scallywag was okay, but we just didn't have enough time to test and develop it. It's had the whole front end would lift up. It's a bit like Chaos 2, if you like, only very slow. It was an electric lifter. It would lift an awful lot, but the drive wasn't quite right. It was a little bit slower. The lifting mechanism wasn't quite right. So it was I think if I'd taken it back, it would have been a lot better the second time, but we only did it once.
It reminds me of when John Reed brought Beta to BattleBots for the first time, and they had these magnets underneath the bot, but the magnets were too powerful for the floor. And it's like, yeah, I think there was a lot of teething problems with a lot of British teams when going over to America.
Yeah, there's stuff which you put in a robot and you think, yeah, it works fine when you test it. You get it in the arenas and it's totally different.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was series 3 or 4. We had a gyroscope in there. And it worked perfectly when we tested it, but put it in the arena and the damn thing was uncontrollable. It was spinning. I just couldn't stop it. So, so yeah, until you get in the arena, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the house robots earlier. One of the questions that was asked was, you are no stranger to attacks on the house robots. Are there any particular ones that stick out to you?
Yeah, we liked Shunt. That was really quite good. There was one fight where we were up against, I think it was Caterkiller or something like that.
Cat 3, maybe?
Cat 3, yeah. So they introduced Cat, they drove in, and then they introduced us and we drove in, and we had to drive past Shunt really closely. And as we went past, he fired his axe and it nearly hit us. So I turned around and attacked him. This is before anything started. And we had guns up in the air. And in the end, they called cease and they had to reset everything. So,
fucking hell, naughty boy!
I think we got a red card for that one.
Yeah, hey, he started it.
Yeah, that's right.
I think Shunt was always like a bit of a target, especially for flippers. They're just like, oh, we got to flip Shunt over. If we do anything, we're flipping Shunt over.
Yeah, he was good.
So when Robot Wars was cancelled in 2004, did that feel like a blow to the solar plexus, or like how was that for you?
It was. I thought it might give us a bit more time to redevelop the robot, but it was getting to a point where it was just fights. The robots were changing. There was no fun anymore. It was just fight.
Yeah.
And the robots were becoming armored flippers or spinners.
Yeah.
And you needed a lot of money to build a robot like that. So it put the average guy who had a shed or his children, they couldn't enter it because it was getting too difficult to do. Whereas the games, anyone could build a robot and do quite well at it. It's only when it came to the fights that you needed something that was special. But if yours could get through the games, the special ones could lose in the game. So it gave you a good chance to win. But the Robot Wars today is totally different.
Yeah. It's I like you made the point about it being more starting to become expensive. Then it's like I keep hearing stories about bots that are well over 100,000 and like not even more than that. And you just think, how the you need sponsors to do that kind of thing, and it's not really a thing you can do in the UK, because
how are you going to get a sponsor if you're a brand new competitor? You might have a drawing of a robot, but you can't build it without the money.
Yeah.
So sponsorship is really difficult to get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the gate, I wouldn't say gatekeeping, but the entry level is now ridiculously high.
Yeah. I was talking to one team that I think they spent £85,000 on their robot.
Yeah.
And they were going to BattleBots, and there was no guarantee that they were going to get into BattleBots.
Yeah. Like
BattleBots in America is huge. So
yeah, the money they're spending for that is insane.
It is, yeah.
So you recently sold Panic Attack to NHRL.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the right decision in the end?
Yeah, it was sat in my garage for sat in my mother's house for about 5 years and sat in my garage for about 10. And I just thought, what am I going to do with it? It's just taking up room. I'm not taking it anywhere. So I wanted it to go somewhere where I didn't want it to go to like another roboteer who was going to just drive it and wreck it, if you like.
Yeah.
And I'd see it on YouTube and all that. when the museum came up and offered me the money, I thought, yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, I don't need the money. I just wanted, I just thought it was a shame that it was in the garage not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, I know you brought it to Robo Nerd not too long before that. How was Robo Nerd, by the way? How was that?
Yeah, Simon told me about it, and I think it was the first time. Well, actually, I took it to Bristol. I think the year earlier to a tiny little place. So I went up to Robo Nerd, and I met loads of people up there, and I was really surprised how popular it still was. So it was good fun, mate.
Yeah, it sort of surprises me. It sort of surprises me how many people were still like. I went there last year, and I met Andrew Marchant for the first time, and
Oh yeah,
Watson, a lot of people who I'd seen on TV, and they're super approachable. It's just like
yeah.
it is kind of funny. I'm going all the way to bloody Wolverhampton in a random pub somewhere to look at some robots, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah, I met Liam. He's probably Panic Attack's #1 fan, if you like.
Yeah.
And when I put it into the little arena, I just gave him the control. I said, "Yeah, have a go," and he was stood there shaking because
yeah, I can imagine.
he couldn't believe that what I'd let him do. But no, it's fine.
So there was a question that someone said because there was some archives of your old website, and you'd had this idea for an invertible panic attack. What do you have anything surviving of that, or do you have any memories of that in particular? What was the plan for that?
Yeah, I've got a box. God knows where it is somewhere. I think it's in the garage. We got some designs of there's a couple of designs, an invertible one that'll run upside down. There's another one which sort of combines panic attack with a large spinning weapon on the front, like Hypnodisc, but the weapon would raise as well. So if it stopped turning, it would act like the forks, if you wish.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah, we have a number of ideas, but I just never got around to doing it.
Yeah, I think with the show being cancelled, it sort of destroyed the reason why.
Well, they did contact me, and they before the first show, they said, "Would you like to come along?" I said, "Not really, because Panic Attack's like 20 years old. I'd have to build a whole new robot."
Yeah.
And I said, "I just don't have the time and the money to do that." So
that is interesting, because that was the question I was going to ask next. Like, if you had the time, what and the time and the money to sort of upgrade Panic Attack, what would you do? What ideas would you have?
Where I work now, I work for the nuclear industry. I work at we take the nuclear waste out of vaults, and it's all done by remote control, which I love. They got a huge workshop, a lot of engineers in, and they've all talked to me. They said, "Wow, why do we build a robot?" And I've just never got round to doing it. I've got a lot, probably could do it if I wished, but I don't really want to enter the new robot wars the way it is, and I don't want to go to battlebots either. So unless robot wars change, then I probably won't build another one.
Yeah, if like I always have this ridiculous pipe dream that some billionaire entrepreneur is just going to feed money into robot wars, and it's like, oh yeah, here's a grant of 100,000, make a robot, some stupid shit like that. But it is very much a pipe dream, and it's very unrealistic. But
you've got to spend a lot of money, and it probably won't guarantee that you ever get onto any show.
No.
How they do it now, I don't know.
I think how they do it now is they do base it on, like, if you're making a more sort of unconventional design, they try to look for things like that. But for the majority of it, it's usually 4-wheel drive, vertical spinners, your carbides and your aftershocks or whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's all flippers and spinners now.
Yeah,
it's not really that interesting.
No. Yeah, I think I think that's just the sort of downside to any sort of sport where it evolves. People start to realize what works and what doesn't, and so there's not really much sort of room for experimentation. I will say there are some really interesting robots now, but they're sort of few and far between.
Yeah.
Um,
When we were doing it, it was all in development, so anything went.
yeah,
So, you could build something which you thought was rubbish and you could do quite well.
yeah, you could put
And you
polka
had
dot
people
fur
like
on your
Mortis.
robot. Yeah,
Mortis spent a fortune on this, and
yeah,
they went out as well. So yeah,
you could put polka dot fur on your robot and set it on fire, and it'll be a lot of fun. That kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So, like, are there? I don't know how much you're sort of paying attention to modern BattleBots, but are there any specific things about the scope of robot combat today that surprise you, or?
No, no, no. It's I've watched the series of Robot Wars, and I've seen some of the BattleBots. The destruction is incredible now.
Yeah,
The power on these robots, it's frightening. But if you put panic attack, it would last about 10 seconds. It would just
yeah,
get ripped to shreds.
yeah. I I I find it so one of the sort of main rules is the tip speed of weapons can't exceed 250 miles an hour, but sometimes it looks like they're going 1,000. It's ridiculous. These things
I
are
know,
made out of.
even the BattleBots, the screens, they break the screens,
Yeah,
the power on them.
yeah,
It's incredible. Yeah.
it's insane. I always am like shocked, even though I've watched however many seasons of BattleBots and Robot Wars. You never get used to it. You're like, Jesus Christ, that's 110 kilos being flown in the air like it's like a ball.
Yeah, when we were in Robot Wars, we had, I think there was a Dutch robot called Gravity,
Gravity,
and
yeah,
I was part of the team at the time, and we were up in the where you control panic attack, and this thing was throwing robots past the window.
yeah.
You
It's
think, oh my god.
I if there are any bots from BattleBots that I'd like to show you, there's this robot called Hydra, and it's
I
basically,
know.
yeah, a hydraulically powered flipper, and it throws these robots into the fucking ceiling. It's insane.
I know. I've
It's
seen it.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You just think, what kind of
Yeah, I used to
black
think
magic are they
chaos was
making?
powerful, but
Yeah,
this thing is, yeah, I know. But people don't realize these robots weigh 100 kilos,
yeah.
and that's a lot of weight to chuck around like that. So, yeah, they're scary.
It's insane. It makes me think how the hell they even test these bots, without breaking arms or
Yeah,
limbs flying anywhere. It's insane.
yeah.
So I only have one more question, so I don't have to hold you up for too much longer. But it's a thing I like to call the amateur question, and I've asked a bunch of people this. It's a very simple question. What is your favorite robot?
I don't have favorite robot. I think they're all really good. There's some are good at one thing, some are good at others, and they're all really, really good. As I used to do the technical inspections on them, and I'd be amazed at the ideas that these people came up with.
Mm,
But favorite robot? No, they're all really good.
that's a
Design Razor's really good. Chaos was superb. Hypnodist, and even the ones which don't spring to mind, they were all really good.
yeah. I always talk to my friends about my Robot Wars friends about like the obscure bots that nobody really remembers. And there's just these ridiculous designs. Like I remember one sort of Mechadon-esque called, I think it was called Legs 11 or something like that. And it just sort of, it was like a walker bot that looked like something out of like Alien or something like that. And it was beautiful, and I love silly things like that, you know.
Yeah, we had our first fight in BattleBots was against a 300, I think it was 300 kilo walker. And I thought, what the hell are we supposed to do against this?
Yeah, wait for it to fall
yeah,
over.
we beat it, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was good. Was it Frenzy, the one that beat us? I think it
Was
was.
that
That was
the
quite a good
hammer
robot.
robot?
Yeah, yeah,
I love Frenzy.
that was good. That was revenge for him because we
Yeah.
beat him in the UK and he beat
Yes.
the hell out of us.
Yeah. Wow.
But we lost there because one of our speed controllers came off.
Ah.
and we lost control of it. So, and they said, "Do you want to stop?" We said, "No, let him beat the hell out of it." That's fine, and he did.
What like there is it's sort of rare that a robot that doesn't do particularly well in the UK does really well in the US. Like I was always really surprised at how well Kilohertz did in the US compared to how it did in the UK. You know, it got to the I think it got to the final of I think Long Beach, and it got beaten by Biohazard, but it was like beating everybody else. It's like I haven't seen this robot maybe win one or two fights, and here it is beating the shit out of everybody.
He's put a lot of development into that robot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's if you've got the time, great. I don't. I have a full-time job, so
yeah,
I sit here designing robots, and I think no, that wouldn't work. And then I think about the robots, so I said no, they'd probably beat it that way. So I don't know.
it's a full-time commitment, and like I even find it like I've wanted to do like a beetle weight robot or something like that, but I know it would take a lot of commitment from me, so I try to sort of stay in the sort of video editing and documentary sort of realm because I know at least I'm decent at that. But I don't know, I feel like Robot Wars and robot combat in general is always going to stay with me in one way or another, so you know.
Don't think it'll die out. We did the show Mechanoids. I don't know whether you remember that. It was
I remember Mechanoids. Yeah.
Yeah. So I built. I can't remember the name of it. We won it anyway. So along with Simon made it. I think Simon. I can't remember. Two of us. I think they drew. So that was another robot that we built.
Mm-hmm.
We took that to the Late Show in Ireland. That was quite good.
But
yeah, so there's loads of possible shows out there if somebody's willing to do it, and if they do it correctly, it would be fun. But Robot Wars at the moment is just fighting.
Yeah.
Some people like it. I prefer to have a game or two.
Yeah, like gauntlets and stuff like that, and sumo.
Yeah, it equals it all out.
Yeah, that's fair. I know a lot of people will have that same sentiment. Well, thank you so much. That's it. I will. You are free from my hands now. But thank you so much for being part of this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I'll yeah. So if you enjoyed that little interview, make sure you like and subscribe. Blah 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 blah. I don't want to promote my shit too much. It's not what really matters here. Thank you so much. Ciao ciao.
That's okay. Thank you very much.